Do you have a least favorite One Piece character?
Gosh, a least favorite? I mean, I think that's fresh in my mind. I'm not going to say who my least favorite is right now based off of manga. I'll say
Oh
based off
god,
of,
I know who you're talking about.
yeah. Um say I really did not like Orochi in the
Okay.
Wano arc. I think he's easy to hate though, and it's unlike Doflamingo where it's like you love Doflamingo but you hate
Mm-hmm.
Doflamingo, right?
Yeah.
You love to hate him.
Exactly. Orochi and just I think how I don't know, diabolical he was, and just like that snake aspect. Obviously, I think
Hmm.
Orochi has to do with like snakes and Japanese and stuff in general, but just that kind of character alone, I don't really vibe with, and so
Yeah.
definitely not. And I would say he's probably my least favorite at the moment.
That's
Most
a good one to
recently,
hate.
yeah,
He's just very easy
yeah,
to hate. Yeah, I agree. They write him in a way where
yeah,
he has no redeeming qualities. At least like Doflamingo, he was a piece of shit, but he had an interesting story that kind of
exactly,
makes sense for why he's a piece of shit.
Okay, so
exactly.
quick question though.
But
If he's written to be hated,
mhm.
is he not then a good written character?
And like that's the argument that you could make if you're
Are
supposed
we
to
talking
hate
about
him.
Doflamingo or Orochi?
Orochi.
Orochi.
Because like
I mean,
I had this thing, and God, I hope this doesn't start a tangent. I'm sorry.
It will.
I don't know if you're a Harry Potter fan, but in the fifth movie, Dolores
mhm,
Umbridge,
okay.
everybody fucking hates her.
Oh, and as
Everybody.
an actress too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, and when I found out that she was going to be playing the Queen in the Crown series, I was like, get the fuck out of here. I'm about to stop watching this damn series. But
Because you
I
don't like
still.
her that much.
But God, it's the reason I hate her so much is because she did such a good job at portraying that
Yeah.
Joffrey
character.
Baratheon,
Mm-hmm.
just like
Same thing
Joffrey.
with Joffrey. You see him and you immediately dislike him, but that's the point. Like they
Mm-hmm.
were written to
Yeah,
be characters that you despise because of their impact on the
yeah,
story. So that's a good argument. Like they're a well written character if you end up having that visceral reaction to them.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think maybe mine isn't so much that like I hate him so much. It's just because I don't like his character, and
Yeah.
that's why I don't think he's. I'm not gonna say he wasn't well written. I just
Hmm.
think it's like he's easy to hate.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
did the job of a villain in that arc
He
instead of
was
where it's
more
like
basic, I think.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to write a villain where it's like this guy betrays this guy and then tries to kill this guy. That's easy,
Yeah.
right? Without adding any dimension to it. And so that's that I would say yeah, Orochi just because I just didn't really like him.
Yeah, I think that they like probably could have maybe not. I'm not saying give him redeeming qualities, but I think like for example when you compare Orochi and Kaido, they were both bad people to say the least,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? Kaido
Yeah.
was just as much of a scumbag, and he did also like horrible things to the country of Wano, to Yamato, to Odin, to like everything he did was
Hmm.
not great. But he was a little bit more complex of a character, and you got to see more of that stuff. Like he had some slightly redeeming qualities through his experiences with like the Rocks pirates and
Mm-hmm.
like him
Hmm.
like moving up in the ranks to be a Yonko. Like again, it's a little bit more depth that I think justifies sometimes like yeah, you could do a lot of bad things and be a bad person, but I still like you as a character, even though
Oh
what you're
yeah,
doing
and
is not
even with
great.
and he doesn't play dirty. I think that was his most redeeming quality,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
Orochi totally plays
and
dirty.
that's
And then you see
probably what
Kaido
turned a
who's
lot of people
equally as
off.
a scumbag, like you said. Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
It's like this guy just wouldn't accept losing
Hmm.
if it meant dirt in his eye, right?
I guess
So
Yeah,
that's the difference between like a bad guy and a scumbag.
yeah, exactly.
yeah, true, true,
One of the examples that I
very
always like
true.
to bring up is like in JJK. How do you feel about Mahito?
Here's the thing. He's my Doflamingo. He's like more so than
Really?
Sukuna, right? Like he's my Doflamingo where it's just like you hate this guy,
Mhm.
but man, was he well written. Like
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
see, like,
God, he's evil.
and I was telling Gary that too because Gary is anime only for JJK. So before the season two, before like all of Shibuya got animated, I would keep telling him like, bro, like, there's gonna be a character that you're gonna fucking hate, like way
Yep.
more than you ever thought you would. And he was like, "Who's a Mahito?" And I'm like, "I'm not gonna tell you." But yes. And after he
And
saw, because like, and I knew specifically for him because again, spoiler warning if you haven't seen Shibuya, I guess for JJK. Like Nanami was Gary's favorite character in the show,
oh, mine too.
and you know when you have a character be directly responsible for that, yeah, you can't help but hate him.
Yeah. Well, and like I think too, there's that difference in types of characters, right? There's these bad guys in One Piece who are, I would say, for I guess lack of better words, human, right?
Mhm.
Regardless of double fruit abilities. They're humans, you think they have these moral qualities to them, versus literal curses in JJK, who you expect to be evil and do these things.
Mhm.
And then he goes a layer deeper than just being evil and is just like disgusting.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Maito sits, you know? So
Yeah.
Mm.
No, he was a menace to society, but I loved it because he drove the plot,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like without him, Shibuya Incident would not have been as great as it was.
Nope.
God.
What about you guys? I don't know if you've answered this on your podcast before. Do you guys have least
Most
favorite
hated.
characters? Most hated, yeah.
In all of anime or specifically One Piece?
What One Piece? Yeah, let's
One
stick
Piece. Mm,
Mm. Damn.
It's hard, right?
yeah, that is
Yeah.
tough.
This is my podcast now.
No, I like answering the questions too. One of the first characters that comes to mind is like Horty Jones from Fishman Island.
Yeah.
I
Really?
hate him. He's such a dumb like character. He's pointless, and he was just a knockoff Arlong, I think, and it just didn't work.
Okay.
For me, I think it was just he didn't live up to the hype that like Arlong did, and this is like a pre-time skip villain. I think Horty was just I don't know. He came off like desperate to try to be really strong, and he just kept like not living up to the standard of a One Piece villain. I think
Fair. That's what about Vanderdecken then? Do you
Vanderdecken's a fucking
Creep.
scumbag and creep,
Yeah.
and I do not like him.
easy to hate?
He's
easy to hate,
he's
yeah.
one of those easy to hate because there's nothing to him. He's just a creep, and that's all he's good for.
Fair
He's
enough.
just being.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Horty was the main
Yep.
villain of this arc, and he was supposed to have
Yep.
more depth because of his history with Arlong and everything. And to a certain extent, sure, he did have some depth, but it wasn't like a good enough reason, in my opinion. I think he just hated humans because the plot needed him to hate humans.
Absolutely.
Personally
Absolutely.
speaking, personally.
Yeah.
No, I have my opinions on Fishman Island as an arc as a
Mhm.
whole that I think are separate from the storyline, more so for character development as a
Yeah.
whole. So
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
they fucking
Yep.
ruined Fishman Island for me.
yeah, he used to
I
like
used to,
it.
I used to like it, and then they explained everything to me, and I was like, huh? Like
Mhm.
once he pointed out, he's like, Zora beat the main villain before Luffy did, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh,
Huh.
yeah, he did do that, and he was like, and he was underwater. I was like, oh, that's a good point. What happens when Zoro's not underwater, and then you see everything that's like, oh,
You realize that there are
Yep.
no stakes because all of the Straw Hats were just nerfed the entire
Mhm.
time. Like giving the
Exactly.
Luffy was underwater.
Yeah, Luffy was underwater. He had to fight inside a bubble. Like he was incredibly restricted. You know for a fact if this took place above ground, it'd be over in like a few seconds.
hmm
There was no
Oh,
challenge
yeah.
for them. And I think once you
Yep.
realize that there's no stakes, then you're just like, why do I care?
You know what the nail in the coffin
Yeah.
was for me though? Gary pointing out that Luffy used a fire type move on a fucking water type.
Oh, it's Pokemon.
Pokemon
No.
logic. When you think about it, it's just like,
It's very effective,
Huh.
apparently.
how?